Jamie, this case is one of those horrible endings that I guess, you know, when there were reports of a body found and no other outstanding missing person cases, people put two and two together. But for the family, these hours and days, months, and years ahead are just going to be very, very difficult to get their head around because of the senselessness of a crime like this. She went out for a jog, and she's a mother of two, and a kindergarten teacher. The list goes on. Your thoughts about the case and what we know about Cleotha Abston? He's got a prior record. What stands out to you?
You know, I guess I just want to extend my condolences to the family and the city of Memphis and her school district. You know, I can't imagine what they're going through. What started out was supposed to be a holiday weekend for all of us, ended up being this extraordinary nightmare for those that I've just described. So, you know, what stands out to me is that, you know, so this gentleman, I'm looking forward to hearing about his history a little bit more, Ted. You know, he kidnapped a attorney at the age of 16, forced him into the trunk of his car, and was attempting to rob him before the gentleman was able to escape by really just pure luck. An armed security guard, from my understanding, was in the vicinity of the ATM. He reached out for help, and this gentleman, for lack of better words, escaped, and then ultimately was arrested and sentenced to this time in prison. You know, what bugs me about this is, you know, we know what he did when he was 16. We know what he did when he was prior to 16. We don't know what he did while he was in prison, and we won't know. Departments of Corrections do not share that information. That information is protected from the public. And just, if I could just briefly share an experience that I had, you know, 10 years ago, I represented a guy who was accused of being a serial criminal, a very serious serial criminal. But he had spent most of his life in prison, and he had done 10 years on a 10-year max. So in Michigan, you have to be released when your maximum time is up. And the prosecutor and I could not figure out how this guy did 10 years because it just doesn't work like that. You know, you do 20% of your time, 30% of your time, and you're paroled. Well, it turns out he had like 400 sexual assault allegations while in prison. That's why they kept him for the whole 10 years. Then he was released in the community without anybody knowing, you know, what had occurred while he was there. And I just think that's a breakdown in the system. And I don't know what went on with this man's time in prison, but after 20 years, I suspect that there were a ton of red flags that should have brought to some people's attention that maybe he should not be released into the community, or at least not without the appropriate supervision.